What's up everybody, it's me E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews. If you recently saw my Avengers Infinity War spoiler review video, I told you that I've got a number of theories and bold predictions. So today I'm gonna cover what I believe really happened with some certain characters and their fate. Then we'll take a peek into the future for the next couple of Marvel movies. Stay tuned. If you haven't already, please go ahead and click on the subscribe button, and while you're at it, click on that little bell too. Please, if you have not watched Avengers Infinity War, this is not the video that you want to be watching. Now, let's get into a little speculation theory about Loki. I'm not buying Loki's death. I know a lot of people really want to believe that Loki's dead. I mean, Thanos did say no more resurrections. And you know what? I would have bought it except for a couple of issues. I want you to pay attention to what Tom Hiddleston had to say about Loki and his supposed death.
Loki is the god of mischief, the lord of misrule, an agent of chaos. Chaos isn't something that's threatening to Loki, and everything's fine.
I rewatched Thor 1 and Thor 2, because keep in mind, this isn't the first time that Loki died. Every single time Loki has died, he's always put on a show. And the show was always to antagonize and to get some sort of satisfaction from Thor's grief. I know many of you have been trying to forget, but let's recall what happened in Thor 2, The Dark World. He goes off camera for a bit, then he comes back. He acts heroic, gets physically touched and killed, and dies. He does all of this right in front of Thor. Why? Because Loki likes to see Thor suffer. He gets a kick out of that kind of stuff. So much so that he even made an entire play about it to watch it over and over and over again. And my point is that this is basically the same setup that we get in Avengers Infinity War. Pay very close attention if you happen to go rewatch Avengers Infinity War, because there are a couple key things that happen here. First, Loki is off camera while Hulk is getting his butt whooped. We don't see Loki for a long time. Then all of a sudden, Loki just walks into the picture, seemingly coming out of nowhere. After that, he looks directly at Thor, telling him, "Don't worry, brother, the sun will shine on us again," or something like that. Next, you see him embrace his family heritage, talking about that he's Odin's son. This was all Loki just being over dramatic. He just saw the Hulk get beat. He's not dumb. Loki is the god of mischief, and he's not even really a fighter. He's a survivor, and he's a strategist too. He's done way more elaborate fake deaths in the past. So why exactly would he do a death so cheaply as to pulling out a little minor dagger to try and kill Thanos? And again, even though Thanos did say no more resurrections, how exactly would Thanos know that he actually killed the real Loki? It's not like he had the Mind Stone or the Reality Stone or any other thing to give him some sort of mental knowledge of that. Besides, I think that looking at some of the common themes and the things that they did in this movie, the directors and the writers, what they probably would have done if Loki was for real dead, they would have taken things that we've already seen before and then shown you, not this time, for real, visually. What's an example of that? Let me tell you. You know how Loki usually will fake his death, or he'll do some sort of trick and then he's hiding somewhere else? I think that they would have shown us something like that. I think it would have been something like Thanos grabbing Loki, choking him out, killing him, and then turning around behind him and killing the real actual Loki. That's how we would actually know if Loki was for real dead. Otherwise, you have to suspect the fact that, no, he's not, because he does this. Like, he's really good at faking his own death. So, I'm sorry. I'm just not buying Loki being dead. You tell me if you think he's dead and why, because I'm sorry, but the evidence to me is just not holding up. Loki is not dead. And plus, he'll make for a really good surprise cameo in Avengers 4, maybe even as an unlikely ally, blah, blah, blah. We've been down this road before. Moving on, let's talk about Vision and Shuri. I believe that while he was in Wakanda, Shuri was initially trying to detach the Mind Stone from him. Now keep in mind, the program that Shuri was running on Vision, it was supposed to run for as long as possible. That's why she was asking T'Challa to give her as much time as possible. Right before the Black Order arrived, Shuri closed the program to fight off the Black Order. But this draws the question, why close the program if you needed more time? She could have stalled while the program was still running. So it's my belief that right before she shut that program down, instead she downloaded Vision's mind into one of her bracelets. That way she could always just upload Vision's mind into a different body at a later point. I'm pretty sure Vision comes back in Avengers 4 with a new body built by Shuri. Let's not forget, Wakanda does make body parts for people after all. One other thing, I don't think that Shuri is dead. She only got pimp smacked to the ground, so she's probably okay. I'm also not buying the idea of her becoming Black Panther. For one, we don't know if the heart-shaped herb is even regrown yet after it was all burnt down. Second, her taking on the mantle would feel rushed and underdeveloped. Unlike in the comics, the MCU version of Shuri has never shown her to be a fighter. Yes, she's wielded some weapons, but they've only shown her to be more of a techie than a warrior princess. So I highly doubt we get the fighting Wakandan queen that Shuri was in the comics, but instead, since Marvel likes to mix things around from the comics, I do think that if this is Robert Downey's last ride as Iron Man, I wouldn't be surprised if some encounter with Shuri, Stark were to just so happen to give Shuri the nickname Riri, basically paying homage to the comics. Ideally, if Stark is ever out of the picture, Shuri could easily come in and become the resident tech genius. Now, another question to theorize about, where exactly is the Collector? Where do you think he's gone? Because I don't really think that he's dead. As powerful as Thanos may be, I think that these elders who, have been around for a long time are much more crafty than we think. I find it hard to believe that the Collector wouldn't at least bargain his way out of it or just give up the Infinity Stone without even putting up a fight. As for the soul swap for the Soul Stone, I don't really believe that Gamora is dead. As we could see in the end of the film, little Gamora was still present. I think that she's only trapped in the Soul Stone and could probably come back in the future. Because if you look at the powers of the Soul Stone in the comics, the Soul Stone does have its own realm where it likes to trap or keep souls. I think pretty much everyone except for the original Avengers bit the dust, minus a select few like Okoye, War Machine, and M'Baku. I think this is an interesting development. If I had to speculate, I would say that by keeping most of the original Avengers, that sets up for a nice ending of this phase in the Marvel Universe, right after Avengers 4. I could totally see the original Avengers getting together to mirror what they did in Avengers 1, all just to save the universe, or in Tony's own words, to avenge it. According to reports, Ant-Man 2 takes place right after the events of Civil War. Even though Ant-Man was not in Avengers Infinity War, my bold prediction is that at the end of Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man's gonna turn to dust. I think that'll be pretty dope. And if it's not Ant-Man, then it'll probably be Hope, but it'll be somebody prominent turning to dust at the end of Ant-Man 2. I think that'll be pretty cool. Actually, if we want to get a little deep about it, there's a good chance that Ant-Man and the Wasp will be in the quantum realm. If you recall from the previous Ant-Man movie, Hank Pym said that in the quantum realm that both space and time are irrelevant. So there's an interesting possibility that Ant-Man and the Wasp may be protected from the effects of the Infinity Gauntlet while they're in the quantum realm. Now we still have a couple more questions that come up. What about Thanos in Avengers 4? What about the remaining Avengers that are left? My guess is that they're going to make Tony and Cap reconcile and deal with their losses, eventually forcing them to work together again. And they're gonna remember why they were best friends. After patching things up, they go after Thanos. Meanwhile, Thanos is literally just chilling on another planet with no worries. He's saved the universe after all. I think some way, somehow, Tony is going to get a gauntlet and wield those Infinity Stones. I think that for two reasons. One, Doctor Strange saw the future and for some reason, he thought it was necessary to spare Tony's life. Two, Marvel did establish that there's some strange connection between Thanos and Stark. So I could see Marvel wanting some karma to take place where Thanos takes life, but Tony restores it. Now, if this turns out to be true, Tony's going to have to use the gauntlet to bring back all the souls. But here's the kicker. I bet Pepper is already gone and turned to dust. And we all know how that soul stone works now. You have to trade a soul for a soul, but not any soul, a soul you care about. I'm willing to bet that Tony will trade Captain America for the entire universe. It'll be a tough decision, but one that Cap will be willing to make. After all, Vision alluded to the point that 70 years ago, Cap was willing to trade his life to save millions before. So who better than to save the entire universe than both Tony and Captain America, with Captain America making an emotional and willing sacrifice. I've said it before, but Cap has to die in Avengers 4. We already know Chris Evans' contract is up. We know he wants to go direct and do all these other things. So it's probably safe to assume that this is his last run. But with Cap dying in Avengers 4, this will leave probably one of the most emotional impacts in the entire franchise. Think of it like this. Captain America's death is ideally what Superman's death should have been in Batman vs. Superman. And I truly believe that because Captain America is so highly revered and respected by almost everybody, that his death is going to be one that would ripple across the entire MCU for years to come. Plus, this also gives Marvel a nice little out to play around with the Captain America mantle. I think given the fact that they already called Bucky the White Wolf again in Infinity War, now the Captain America title may go to Falcon instead. Plus, if it is true that the Soul Stone only locks a soul into the Soul Gem, then Marvel could always bring back the real Captain America another time with a different actor if Chris Evans doesn't want to return. Well, that's all I've got for today. What did you think about my theories and predictions? Let me know if you have your own theories or predictions in the comments down below. I've got some really interesting videos coming up for you guys real soon that you just won't want to miss. So in the meantime, I'll see you guys later.